Okay, so tonight we have a treat for you. What we're doing is the ladies went through old newspaper articles and they found ones that were a little off, crazy, strange, shenanigans. So what we have is all of us got these articles just this week. So I'm narrating and winging it, and they are doing improv and winging it.
I do want to let you guys know we have a caption that we're going to be using. There's no caps in it. Anybody doesn't believe me? So I was going to make a noise. Just want to let you guys know it's not real.
No one will die on the stage tonight. Okay, are you ready? Yep. As ready as we're going to be. Yep. Okay, this article is from the San Andreas Independent, Saturday, December 20th, 1856. It's called Mayhem. So we will need a Thomas Kenny and a John Carwin.
Hi guys, I'm John.
I'm Kenny.
On last Monday night, two persons named Thomas Kenny, who had just come down from the northern mines, and John Carwin, had a dispute that ended in a fight.
I cannot believe that you're trying to take my gold.
During which Kenny bit off the end of Carwin's nose. Contrary to the statute in such cases provided.
Wait, take a little off the other side.
Kenny was arrested by Deputy Sheriff Betts, and after due hearing, Judge Stevens committed the prisoner to stand his trial for mayhem before the next Court of Sessions, which convenes at McCallamy Hill on the second Monday of January, 1857. January 24th, 1857, in the People versus Thomas Kenny, who was indicted for mayhem, he was found not guilty. Okay, the next article is from the Calaveras Californian in 1896, a burglar at the McQuaid Ranch. So we need Mr. McQuaid Sr., Alex McQuaid, burglar, and dogs. Savage dogs and wakeful people have no terror for him. Last Wednesday morning, about 3 o'clock, the McQuaid family, who live on the Calaveras River between this place and McCallamy Hill, and about 4 miles from the latter place, were awakened by a noise in the sitting room. Mr. McQuaid Sr., looking through the open door from his bedroom, could see the form of a man. He called out, "Who's there?"
Who's there?
It's me!
Hold on, I'm getting my glasses.
But the intruder simply answered, "It's me," and made no attempt to escape until he heard the McQuaids getting out of bed. When he best a hasty retreat. After the fellow disappeared through the door into the darkness, it was impossible to tell what course he had taken. So Mr. McQuaid went around one side of the house while his son Alex went around the other. Unfortunately, the senior McQuaid came suddenly upon the burglar, who quickly floored him with a heavy blow between the eyes. He continued beating the old man until he heard Alex McQuaid coming, when he jumped the fence and made his escape.
Get my life alert.
As it was useless to try to follow the man in the darkness, the McQuaids went to bed. It was not more than a half hour later when they heard the dogs barking and making a great fuss. And peering out, they behold the bold visitor coming back. Alex McQuaid went out, and meeting the fellow, presented a revolver and ordered him to throw up his hands. A command which he obeyed without argument. The McQuaids bound him with a rope and put him to bed in the home.
All right, you can get bed with me, but no punches.
One of the family keeping guard over the captive. In the morning, he was given his breakfast. And brought to San Andreas and locked up on the charge of burglary. The fellow gave his name as John Boggertoes.
Call me John. Burgers.
You said your name was Villain.
And when searched at the jail, $87 was found on his person. He gave an explanation for entering the house that he was simply looking for something to eat.
I'm starving. Skin and bones. Absolutely wasted away.
He is believed to be an ex-convict and a hard character. That's it. Need a man and a clerk. This is from the Calaveras Chronicle, Saturday, October 20th, 1866. It's called Loud. A man lately went to the post office and putting his nose close to the delivery box, cried out, "Louder."
Louder.
The clerk, supposing the man to be deaf, and that he was requesting him to speak louder so that he could hear, asked him in a loud tone the name of the party for whom he wanted the letter.
What's the name of the party that you want the letter for? Louder.
Cried the man. What name? Yelled the clerk.
What name? Louder.
Again bawled the man, who now supposed the clerk to be deaf. The clerk took a long breath, and with all his might, again bellowed out in the man's face the same question, what name?
What name?
This was done in so loud a tone that the echo seemed to return from the far-off hills. The man started back in alarm, shouting at the top of his big lungs, "Louder, sir, louder, I told you, louder is my name and nothing else."
Louder! 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 I'm louder! The letter's for louder! Louder.
San Andreas Independent, Saturday, 1858. So we have the captain sitting in his chair, and we have a bottle of Quicksilver. Infernal machine exploded. On Wednesday evening, about 8 o'clock, a Quicksilver bottle charged with 8 pounds of powder exploded in Captain Pope's sitting room. With the force that almost demolished the front of the building, tearing out the chimney, breaking up the furniture, and setting fire to the papered walls and eaves on the ceiling. At the time of the explosion, the captain, he being the only occupant of the building, was sitting in a chair near the fireplace when the explosion came. Yet through the mercy of protection, Providence, he escaped by receiving only a slight injury.
Oh, my injuries, they're slight.
We were among the first to visit the scene and saw the captain powder-marked and bleeding from the clay of the chimney having blown into his face. "Are you hurt?" we inquired.
Are you hurt?
Yes, but only slightly.
"No," said the captain, "but the darn thing knocked me over."
Yeah, what they did.
After a light was brought, the extent of the damage might have been seen in the amount of the damage done. The chair in which the captain had been sitting was broken to pieces. Nearby it on the floor was a flattened out proportions of the Quicksilver jar, which was seething hot. and bore positive evidence of toughness of the material of which it was made. The bottom flank of the quicksilver jar was found shot across the street into a stanchion on the first floor of the second room of the Main Street Hotel. I lost my spot. Okay. Leave an indentation of 3/4 of an inch in its broadside proportions in the hardwood. In its course, this projectile had taken the leg off of the chair in which Captain Pope was sitting, went through the door, crossing the yard and the street, through a window and a room, ripping half the proportion of the size of the top casing of an inner door, crossing the room to where it struck the stanchion. Directly opposite, where the pieces of iron struck the stanchion, the proprietor of the hotel and another man were washing dishes.
Are you sure I'm all right?
No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. And had it not glanced from the thick casing, it would have struck the partition, going through, and would have killed one or both of the dishwashers. Now, this is from the same incident with a reporter on the scene.
Well, there I was with an exceptionally hot bottle of quicksilver. I put too many parts in and it done blowed up. And as you can clearly tell by my chair, it's definitely in pieces and not just laying on the floor. And that big old hole in the wall and the debris that's all over here staring at us.
The powder got into the quicksilver jar in this manner. On last 4th of July, 4 jars were charged with 8 pounds of powder each to celebrate the day, but 3 were exploded. The 4th was missing. No further notice was taken of the matter until after this explosion. Captain Pope had 1 quicksilver bottle for a hand iron. On the day of the accident, in passing through a back lot, he found another one, which he put in the other chimney corner to make a pair.
Another one? You have another one? Okay.
Practically identical.
He built a good fire and sat down before it. To read the Atlantic news, which had just arrived by the Sonora. As soon as the iron got heated, of course the explosion took place. The darn thing only knocked him over, leaving a few powder marks and clay scratches on his face.
Knocked you over.
Oh.
That's what I thought.
The noise of the explosion was as loud as the heaviest artillery, and the shock so severe as to jar Mr. Cochrane's large stone building adjoining to its very base.
Not Mr. Cochran.
We do hope the captain is satisfied with the specific gravity, tenacity, tension, traverse strain, compressibility, and other properties of the wrought iron bottle. No more parlor experiments, if you please, Mr. Pope. This was the Weekly Gazette, August 2nd, 1902. Nelson Laviere, a prominent young man of Calaveras, died at San Andreas as a result of eating cherries and drinking milk. Some years ago, he had typhoid fever, but recovered. It is supposed that this had something to do with his death. He had been sick about a week. No operation was performed. And for those of you who are unaware, cherry pits contain cyanide. And milk gives you constipation. I think you can put the rest together on your own. So we need a Mr. Porter, a highwayman, and a one-horse buggy.
Is he my horse?
No, wait, hold on.
I don't know, we're gonna find out.
Okay, Mr. Porters.
Get over here.
highway robbery. G.W. Porter of Chili Gulch, Calaveras County, arrived in the city yesterday, says the Stockton Load Independent of Thursday, and informed us that on his way down, at a point at the McCollamy Hill Road, about a mile west of the North Americans, but near the place where Mr. Eberhart was shot on the stage and killed by robbers some time ago, a man suddenly rushed from the bushes with a cocked revolver in his hand and ordered him to stop and deliver his purse.
Give me your purse!
Mr. Porter was making his way to the city with a one-horse buggy and stopped at once. As commanded by the villain who pointed the pistol at his head, under the influence of such persuasion, the demand to deliver the purse, Mr. P promptly complied with, and while in the set of taking it out of his pocket, the robber, who was then standing on the ground with his pistol leveled on his victim, quickly put the pistol in his belt, drew a dirk knife, stepped up on the wheel of the buggy,
Ow, not so hard, those spurs are sharp.
raised the knife with one hand and eagerly extended the other hand to grab the cash. Seemingly pleased with his luck, so its bulk indicated the amount of the leather sack contained to be quite large.
I know that. There's a lot of money in here, it sounds like. Please leave the lipstick.
It's bigger on the inside.
It was in silver, however, and amounted to only about $20. When the highwayman emptied the sack and discovered the money was in silver, he quietly remarked to Mr. Porter, "You travel dang light."
You travel dang light. You know it.
Porter then told him that the sack had long been in his possession and was sort of his favorite.
The sack has been long in my possession and it's my favorite.
And he therefore would like to have it returned.
Please return it. The sack, you can keep the money.
And likewise, he said he was on his way to Stockton and had no money left to pay his expenses, whereupon the road agent handed him back $2.
Very generous.
The scoundrel had his head covered with a handkerchief and holes only for him to see through, wore a blue flannel shirt and overalls over his pantaloons. He is described as being stoutly built and of medium size, and from what Mr. Porter could observe of his eyes, he thinks the villain's complexion was dark. Mr. Porter was wholly unarmed, which was very unfortunate, as when the robber put up his pistol and drew a knife, a good opportunity was afforded to have him shot dead. This is from the Calaveras Chronicle, March 7th, 1888. On Monday morning last, bright and early, Pink took charge of the jail. Rice, Gian, Peak, whose time had expired by elimination. Pink understands the business, having officiated his present capacity under Sheriff Paul. During that period, a fellow by the name of McAllen, a hardened wretch, made his escape from that institution. In doing so, it became necessary for him to allay Pink's desire for more extended enjoyment of his company by tapping him on the head with a hammer, rather forcibly than agreeably. The impressions created by the nail-persuading instrument are still visible upon Pink's kaput, and the recollection of the knockdown argument which it enforced are indelibly stamped upon his memory.
Think about what you did.
Nailed it.
Under these circumstances, we think he will be very apt to keep a close watch upon his wards, and if one of them escapes, he will have to starve himself to a skeleton, take a pinch of snuff, and sneeze himself through the keyhole.
Keyhole, buddy.
All right, hold on.
vacation. Amador Ledger, July 29th, 1900. Chronicle from Economy Hill. Henry M. Daigle, the cook who threw the frying pan at Walter E. Luke in the kitchen of the Liege Hotel last week and inflicted a pretty bad cut on the latter's face, mention of which was made in our last issue, had his examination before Judge Burse last Monday on a charge of assault with intent to do great bodily harm. The people were represented by District Attorney A.I. McSorley and Judge Ira Hill Reed of San Andreas, looked out for the defendant's interests. The waiter testified as to the facts in the case from the time he told the cook to thin the mush down from 1-finger consistency to a 2-finger mash until the frying pan flew through the space and mashed him on the side of the head, when he lost all further interest in culinary matters and retreated for repairs. The cook took the stand in his own behalf and told his side of the story, reiterating parts of the waiter's testimony and denying other parts, and accusing the complainant in general terms of convulsing to make matters interesting for him. Young Daigle, a lad about 14 years of age, who was engaged as a dishwasher and saw the fracas, testified to matters much to the same strain as his father, but he was so badly scared after he had been sworn in that he hardly knew what he was sitting on, and his testimony did not throw much light upon the case. The case was submitted to the court without argument and taken under advisement until 3 o'clock, when the judge rendered his decision discharging the prisoner. Okay, we need a Mr. Simpson, a Mr. Lilly, the sheriff, and his posse. This is from the Stockton Daily Independent, February 2nd, 1929. It's called Calaveras Death or Cash Letter is Charged. Arrest made at money plant as victim tells sheriff. Joshua Lilly gets masked 5 note. Simpson, Valley Springs contractor jailed at rendezvous. San Andreas, February 1st. Sam G. Simpson is in the Calaveras County Jail today on charges of blackmail. He was arrested by the posse deputies under Sheriff Joe Zwing, and he is alleged to have gone to the spot at the Valley Springs end of the railroad bridge between that city and the Burson, where Joshua Lilly had placed money in response to a blackmailing letter signed the Masked 5.
Yep, sounds right.
Text of the letter. Valley Springs, California, January 31st, 1926. Mr. Lilly, if you want to live, you will do what this tells you. To do, get $750 in bills, 10s and 20s, and bring them to Valley Springs end of the railroad bridge just at dark tonight at 6:30 p.m. This is the bridge you go under on the road to Burson. Put bills in a package and place the package in the middle of the track at the end of the guardrails on Valley Springs end of the bridge.
Right there. Nope, to the left.
Just 10s and 20s?
Yep.
All right.
And come alone. If you value your life, do not notify any officers or anyone else, and do not mark any bills. You will be watched all day, and any kind of trick will be known, and should any harm come to any one of the 3 black masks, you will pay the penalty.
Pinky promise. Pinky promise.
Fail to do what this note says and you will be shot, down your home burned, and also your place of business. Leave the money, $750, and you will not be harmed. Pay this alone and try to get any of us and see what happens.
Yeah.
We only want money enough to get out of the country, and we mean to have it there by 6:30 p.m. with money, and you will not be harmed. Fail or tell anyone, and you will die. Remember, 6:30 p.m., January 31st, on the east end of the bridge between Valley Springs and Burson, between rails at the end of the steel guard.
Yep.
You will be watched. 10s and 20s unmarked. Don't get eyed. That sheriff can help you. He might have your money, but he can't save you. Signed, the Mask 5.
And he could use some editing, but he's got, I'll do it.
The sheriff has been notified. The matter was reported to Sheriff Joe's wing, who arranged that Mr. Lilly place the package at the appointed place. And the sheriff himself, together with a posse of deputies, secreted themselves near the railroad bridge between Valley Springs and Burson, so as not to be on hand when the band came to claim the money. About 7 o'clock, out of the heavily wooded hillside, came a lone man who passed close by the two officers in the brush, but they allowed him to go on to the spot where the package had been put. And when he got there, 2 officers placed him under arrest.
We got you.
Yeah, this is me on the president.
Simpson came to Valley Springs about 2 years ago and engaged in the construction of a road to Pardee Dam site. Later, he worked at other jobs, and a few months ago undertook a contract for road construction in Tuolumne County. It is said he became involved in financial difficulties, and his working equipment was attached following suit brought against him. There was no Mast 5.
No, it's just me.
Now we need a headless bride and a horse? Headless horse and a bride? Oakland Post-Inquirer, January 1935. Ghostly bride lives in ghost town's legend. Sarah workers restoring the old historic Butterfield stage station near Vallecito, Calaveras County, are hearing legends of gold rush days. One worker gave up his job to avoid encountering a phantom bride who, according to chroniclers, rides through the darkness on a headless horse. Other ghostly riders are said to include 2 fierce men who ride silently and swiftly to the door of the stage station.
What's strapping young man told me I worked every.
Some swear they hear the approaching beat of invisible hoofs. But the less literary and more literal attribute the hoofbeats to a local resident who was masqueraded as a ghost to frighten away her daughter's unwelcome suitor. The phantom bride is supposed to have been stricken ill at Vallecito en route to San Francisco to marry her lover who had struck a bonanza.
Dad, stop, you're embarrassing me.
She died and was buried in the local cemetery, from whence she emerges on moonless wintry nights to gallop over the mountain trails in her vain search for her beloved.
Where the hell's my man?
There are several explanations for the legend. One is that the old residents, tired of the vandalism of souvenir hunters, created this yarn in self-protection. And our crew, we have Beth Brandt, Joe Slankard, Z. Harmon, and Emma Hampton. Thank you guys for indulging us.